everyone, welcome back. So we're talking about The Crown again today. What parts of it were real, what part was made up by Netflix, and we are looking at season 4 episode 2. So if you haven't seen episode 1, make sure that you watch it on the video below. Now, the first meeting with the Queen and the Prime Minister was pretty awkward in episode 1, and boy, things are about to get a lot worse at Balmoral Castle. The Queen has gone there for her annual holiday trip, and her family always goes there every summer, and they traditionally invite the Prime Minister along with them for a couple of days. Right away, the Prime Minister is not in her element. Her and her husband show up, they do everything wrong, and they're totally thrown off by this weird combination of protocols, schedules, and relaxing. The Queen's walking around in mud boots and hunting gear, but at the same time, they're still expected to follow a schedule. They're given separate bedrooms, people are taking care of all their things, and they just don't know how to react. So it's kind of strange because throughout this whole series, we've seen the royal family so much that I feel like it's always been pretty sympathetic towards them, and I've always felt like they were kind of normal. You know, you kind of forget that they have all these weird customs and traditions and things they follow, and then all of a sudden we're seeing them from a normal person's perspective, and it kind of is making us realize, oh, right, they are non-normal, and they do some weird stuff. So poor Margaret Thatcher, she shows up. She didn't bring the right outdoor shoes. She shows up for dinner at the wrong time. She even sits in Queen Victoria's chair and then gets a lecture from Princess Margaret about the benefits of relaxation. So that doesn't go over well for her because she is definitely a workaholic, and she says, I do not find any pleasure from relaxing. Now you have to wonder how much of that is real, and while it's true that she definitely did not enjoy going on these trips, as I said, she called Balmoral purgatory and despised going there, she probably didn't show up with that little of a clue of what to do. According to the Queen's ex-press secretary, he has complained at length about the Crown. He says before anyone goes to Balmoral or any of these audiences with the Queen, they get a long list, a long briefing of what to do, what to pack, what's going to happen, what's expected of them. And, you know, I have a tendency to believe that because this family does not leave anything to chance. They are not going to just throw the Prime Minister to the wolves and just let her show up with no idea what's going to happen. So, you know, probably the major parts where she goes for a walk with the Queen in that brilliant blue suit and the high heels, that probably didn't happen. You know, she probably didn't sit in Queen Victoria's chair, all that, but I'm sure there were some little taboos that were mistaken, and still the general feeling of the episode is right because she did not enjoy going there, and she in fact developed a real scorn for upper class people after that trip. She went home, she really did fire 3 of her cabinet ministers that were a little too upper class for her, and she sent a 4th one packing off to Northern Ireland to work. Now, according to her, it was because they disagreed with her on her budget cuts that she had proposed, and I mean, that was probably true too. I'm sure the trip to Balmoral was a factor and kind of pushed her against those people and made her, you know, just get kind of sickened with the upper class and the way that they've been living. She wants to change the whole country, and these people obviously are not interested in changing. The Queen certainly throughout this whole series has been resistant to any kind of change. She just sticks with exactly what she's been doing all this time. It has worked, and she is not about to change, and that is just not something that Margaret Thatcher is interested in as a Prime Minister. Another weird thing with this episode, like I said, we've watched all these episodes of The Crown and started to feel like maybe they're a normal family, and then you see them from Margaret Thatcher's perspective, and all of a sudden you think, oh yeah, they do some weird stuff. This episode makes it look like Margaret Thatcher is the weird crazy person, and that's definitely not the case. The other prime ministers that have gone there a few of them have also said, not really. It was a pretty weird experience. Tony Blair, one of the old prime ministers, described his weekends there as a vivid combination of the intriguing, the surreal, and the utterly freaky. So there you go. I don't think she's the problem here. Diana, on the other hand, follows the trip to Balmoral and she does perfectly. Now you have to remember, Diana is from an upper class family. These weekends of hunting and outdoors things and whatever, all these protocols and things, they are not foreign to her. This is the world that she's grown up in. So she fits in perfectly. And if her visit was really that close to Margaret Thatcher's, that probably only made her look even better compared to how badly Margaret did. So her and Prince Philip go on a stag hunting mission. They get this prize stag, and all of a sudden the family has approved that they want Charles to marry her. And by the end of the episode, Charles is kind of resigned on the phone to Camilla that, yep, she did really good and I'm probably gonna have to marry this girl. Now, she really did go there, of course, for the weekend, for the trip. There's really no mention of her stag hunting with Prince Philip, although she probably did go hunting with them. That is a major thing that family does on their trips, and they invited her to come for the weekend to spend time with her. So obviously she would have been doing all kinds of outdoors activities with them. She didn't stay in the exact castle with them like they kind of hint in the show. Her older sister Jane, and her husband have a cottage at Balmoral Estate. There's like 150 buildings there, so they don't really show that in the movie obviously, but her sister and her sister's husband have a cottage at the estate, which Princess Diana stayed in, and then Charles would just come there every day to visit her. And, it's safe to assume she probably went back to the castle, they did some barbecues, that sort of thing, because apparently Prince Philip does barbecuing when they're at Balmoral. But she really did fit in perfectly, and she got, passed the Balmoral test, which depends who you ask, that may or may not be real. But really, everyone that meets their boyfriend's family is going through some kind of test. Whether or not it's official, everyone has done that. We've all been there. It's always terrible, but Diana did it and she made it through very well, apparently. Now, this weekend was her and Charles' third date. First one, they went to an opera, chaperoned by her grandmother. Then they went to a week-long yachting trip. And this is the third date. There's only going to be 10 more dates in person before they get engaged and ultimately end up married. So that's pretty intense. That's not very many dates before you decide you're marrying somebody. Now, this episode ended with kind of a sad vibe for Charles. You feel bad for him. I felt bad for him in many points of this series because season 3 was kind of sad for him. So this one, it ends with him talking on the phone to Camilla, saying how Diana did really well, the family loved her, and they're probably going to want him to marry her. And the idea is that they pressured him into marrying her. Did they really pressure him that much to marry this girl? He'd only gone on 3 dates with her. How could they know that this is the right person? They met her for one weekend. But it kind of depends on who you ask. If you ask this press secretary of the Queen, the one I mentioned before, he says no, Charles was not influenced by his family. They did not talk to him about who he should marry. They're not a touchy-feely family. They don't really talk about that stuff. And definitely I believe that, because like I said, previous episodes, they are not a touchy-feely, talk about your feelings, help each other with relationships kind of family at all. And even throughout this season, we see that, because Charles' marriage, all the kids' marriages, are kind of going down the drain, and the family does not even talk about it. So, I believe that they wouldn't have talked about it. However, in a biography authorized by Charles himself, titled The Prince of Wales, he says that Prince Philip did pressure him that he should marry Diana. Of course, as I said in episode 1, Lord Mountbatten had really pressured him that he needed to find this perfect, sweet, young, innocent girl to marry, and Diana fit that bill. And I'm sure that Philip would have shared Lord Mountbatten's thoughts on that, because he kind of the same generation of men, and he had the same ideas for who Charles should be looking for in a wife. So according to Charles's biography, he was pressured into it, and we're never really going to know that answer, same as what Camilla really thought of this whole situation. She could hardly complain. She herself was married with children at this point to someone else. So she could hardly complain that Charles was going to marry someone else. But we just will never know what she really thought of it, because of course, we know how this turned out, so she could hardly go on. Officially, her and Charles were only close friends at this point. And of course, I don't believe that, because they ended up getting married. They've been close friends for their whole lives. I don't think Charles ever stopped wanting to be with her, but they're never going to go back on that. They will never admit that, oh yes, we were actually still, in a relationship at that time, because they just can't ever admit that. So according to the record, the official record, they were close friends at that time, and she would have supported his marriage to Diana because she's his friend, and that's what friends do. And everyone really thought they were a good match. So that's kind of that. Basically, I think the episode did pretty good. Even if they didn't have the exact details down, even if they didn't go on that exact steak hunt, even if Margaret Thatcher didn't wear that exact stunning shade of blue on her hunt with the Queen, they got the right feeling down for the show. Everyone, we got the right feelings from the characters, and I think it was a good reminder that a good opening to what the rest of the season will be like, because we really get that reminder that, yeah, the royal family does some weird stuff. They are not like the rest of us. We see that right away as soon as we start seeing them through the Prime Minister's eyes. Oh, right, there's some weird stuff going on here. And then, we just see this dysfunctional relationships that they have with each other, with Charles and Diana, and obviously not being right for each other, but no one deals with it. They just plow ahead, and this episode still set us up for some good drama, basically, in the rest of the series. So if you guys like this video, make sure you hit like. If you want to see more of my videos, hit subscribe, and make sure if you haven't seen the first episode of this series that you watch it, because we are going to go, in that one we go over some very important beginnings, meeting Princess Diana for the first time, meeting the Prime Minister for the first time, and of course the death of Lord Mountbatten, Charles' closest mentor. And if you like this video, make sure you hit a comment and let me know what you liked. If you want to see some different movies and TV series, let me know what you'd like me to review, and let me know if you think I'm right or if you think I'm crazy. Do you think that Charles and Camilla really were only close friends at this time, or do you think they had a relationship secretly? Let me know. I want to hear what you think. Okay, thanks. Bye.